If you're thinking about moving to Portugal, you've most likely already done some research and you may have already visited Portugal, so you have a general idea of what it's like to live here. Today, however, I want to shift focus to some aspects of life here in Portugal that are rarely discussed. These factors can definitely shape your experience here, so let's get to it. I'll start by saying that my family and I have lived here in Portugal for 4.5 years, and we absolutely love it here. We're grateful for every day that we spend here. But that's not what today's video is about. I'm sure you've already heard about the most commonly discussed challenges foreigners face in Portugal, like the realities of the housing market, slow bureaucracy, rising energy costs, limited job opportunities. I'm sure you've heard of steep taxes here, slow legal processes, cultural differences, and more. You can find many YouTube videos and personal stories that explore all of these topics in depth. Instead, I want to share 4 less commonly discussed aspects of living in Portugal, things that, in my opinion, are important to consider before you decide that this country is right for you. They're not in any specific order, by the way. Let's start with schools. I know it's not applicable to everyone, but education is usually high on priority list for families moving abroad. In Portugal, the school experience can be a bit of a mixed bag. Depending on the school, you might find things a little unorganized at times. Events can be cancelled unexpectedly, and extracurricular activities aren't always as well structured and as fun as you might be used to. This isn't unique to Portugal, but it can be different from what you may have experienced elsewhere. Sometimes, though, children may have opportunities here they may never encounter in any other country. For example, one year, my daughter's class took a trip to Germany. And this year, they went kayaking together in a nearby lagoon. So these kind of activities suggest fun and unexpected things for kids to do here. That said, we've learned to adapt by finding our own activities outside of school. This might be a great approach for your family too. There are lots of options, from music and art classes to all sorts of sports, things like badminton, swimming, tennis, surfing, horseback riding, kayaking, martial arts, football, basketball, and more. We've been really happy with the teachers and coaches that our daughter had here. Now let's talk about the language. It's true that kids are generally expected to adapt quickly, including picking up a new language. But in reality, it doesn't always happen this way, especially if your child is older and you're coming from a culture that's very different to Portugal's. I know several families whose children have struggled to fully adjust. One thing that might help, especially if your child is having a tough time, is looking into international private schools. Of course, you will want to do your own research on that, but in general, private schools here tend to be better equipped to support children as they adapt to a new country and language. Next thing you must consider before deciding to move to Portugal that no one ever talks about are the earthquakes. And they can hit randomly at any moment. It's surprising how many foreigners are not aware of Portugal's seismic risk. Throughout Portuguese history, many big earthquakes have happened, with the most significant one being the devastating 1755 Lisbon earthquake and tsunami that destroyed the entire city and changed history. Most people don't give enough consideration to this part about living in Portugal. It's been 4.5 years since we moved here, and we never felt anything until one morning we were shaken awake at 5 a.m. by a 5.3 magnitude earthquake. That was in August of 2024. Only a few months later, there was another moderate earthquake that was 4.8 magnitude. So if you're planning to move here, make sure that your building follows modern anti-seismic building codes and is located in a low seismic risk area, because you never know when the big one will hit. Do your research, before you decide on a region to live here in Portugal, and also take into account your proximity to the shore. The next thing I'd like to mention today is microclimates. Portugal might be a small country, but the weather can be surprisingly different depending on what part of the country you decide to live in. For example, we live on Silver Coast, and the climate here is really comfortable and mild. Winters never get cold, and summers are just right. Not too hot, not too humid. It really feels perfect for me most of the time. But if you drive just about 40 minutes inland to places like Santarém, for example, you'll notice a big change. On summer days, it can reach about 35 degrees there, while here on the coast we are enjoying pleasant 25 degrees on the very same day. Some areas like Sintra are known for being more humid, and Lisbon is almost always hotter than the Silver Coast in the summer, even though it's only 95 kilometers south from us. Another thing to keep in mind, especially if you're considering the north of Portugal, is the risk of forest fires during certain times of year. So just remember that the climate can really change from one area to another. It's worth thinking about what kind of weather you'd be happiest with before you choose a place to settle. And the last thing I want to mention that is definitely still work in progress here in Portugal is quality of their websites, as well as overall online shopping experience. If you're used to super smooth, user-friendly online stores, you might find things here a bit frustrating at times. Many Portuguese websites can be slow, clunky, or just not very intuitive. Sometimes pages don't load properly, and you might run into errors when trying to place an order. Another thing to keep in mind is paying with a credit card doesn't always go as smoothly as you would expect. Some sites only accept Portuguese cards, or they might have trouble processing cards from other countries. Even bigger retailers sometimes have issues, and your payment just won't go through for no apparent reason. Because of this, having a local Portuguese debit or credit card can make your life a lot easier. Once you open a bank account here and get a local card, you'll probably find that payments work much more smoothly. So if online shopping is important for you, just know that it might take a little time to get used to how things work here. And having a local card can definitely help. I have to admit, every time I tried to think of challenges, I kept coming back to all of the things that we treasure about living here in Portugal. For us, the positives far outweigh any of the downsides of living here. But that's a topic for another video. I hope you found this video helpful, and I can't wait to make another video soon where I can share all of the things that we absolutely love about living here. And yes, it's a wild peacock just walking casually in a local park. Or I should say they are semi-domesticated. They are fed and cared by the local park management, but you can still spot them on the streets, on rooftops sometimes, or just casually strolling through the open-air markets. And that's it for today. Until next time, thanks for watching. Click here to watch my next video about Portugal. I should have it available in about a week from now.